I'm Christine, 32, standing at the far end of a long table in a Chicago restaurant lit with warm golden bulbs. Glasses clink and forks scrape plates as my family celebrates Thanksgiving, but the seat beside me stays empty, a quiet gap at a crowded party. The smell of roasted turkey and cinnamon drifts through the air, and a violinist plays soft jazz near the door. Then my father leans forward, his voice cutting through the noise. "We wish your sister was our only child." My fingers tighten around the stem of my water glass. The chill seeps into my skin. I keep my face still breathing once slowly, as if the room has shrunk. In 2021, I wired $500 at midnight to cover the store's overdue bill. "You'll get it back soon," Mom texted while sitting front row at Noreen's recital. I clicked send before the screen went dark. The smell of coffee from the restaurant's bar pulls me back to now. In 2022, I spent 3 weekends revising their tax forms at my kitchen table. "Noreen's got a new idea for displays," Dad said on speakerphone, ignoring my questions. I pressed my pen harder, the paper almost tearing. The glint of the restaurant's chandelier flashes above me like that memory. "Last summer I suggested a supplier change to save thousands. Stick to your spreadsheets." Noreen laughed in a group chat. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. A waiter passes behind me now, the scent of fresh bread reminding me where I stand. "Before I tell you what happens next, tell me where you're watching from. If you've ever been the one quietly holding things together while someone else got the praise, drop your story below and hit subscribe. You'll want to see where this goes." I rest my hand on the small envelope hidden in my purse and lift my eyes across the table. They think I'm silent. They're wrong. The laughter around the table ripples on like nothing was said, but each sound lands sharp inside me. I set my glass down slowly, letting my hand rest on the linen as if anchoring myself. Noreen tilts her head, a smug curl at the edge of her mouth, her diamond earrings catching the light. Mom raises her glass and says something about our brilliant girl without looking my way. I shift slightly on the chair, feeling the wood press into my back, my pulse steady but heavy. No one asks me about work. No one mentions the nights I kept their business afloat. They pass the breadbasket right over my hands to Noreen. I remember the first time I bailed them out, wiring money from my tiny apartment, while rain drummed against the window. "It's just until we're caught up," Dad promised over the phone. I clicked send and watched the numbers drop in my account. Now, the smell of cranberry sauce and cloves swirls around me like a warning. Another flashback late at night, hunched over their invoices, the glow of my laptop the only light. "Don't bother your sister with this," Mom had whispered on a call. I closed my eyes, pen tapping against the desk. The clatter of silverware here brings me back sharp and bright. I try to speak about the store, but my words get swallowed by a cousin asking Noreen about her new campaign. She answers like a star on stage, laughing softly as Dad beams. I glance at the envelope hidden in my purse. My thumb presses against its edge, a quiet reassurance under the noise. If you've ever sat at a table full of people and felt invisible, let me know where you're watching from. I've been there more times than I can count. I exhale slowly and fold my napkin across my lap. My face stays calm, but my grip on the envelope tightens. They don't see it yet. They don't see me yet. The chatter around the table swells as dessert plates arrive, a glossy pecan pie sliding in front of Noreen while my plate stays empty. Dad's voice rises, telling a story about how she single-handedly saved the store with her new ideas. I sip water to keep my hands steady, the glass cool against my skin. Noreen laughs, brushing a crumb from her dress, her confidence filling the room like perfume. Mom waves a hand toward me without looking. "Sweetie, don't bore everyone with numbers," she says. The words slide over me like ice, but I keep my posture straight, the envelope still hidden in my purse. I clear my throat and try again, quieter but firmer. "If you adjust the inventory system, you could save thousands." My voice feels like it belongs to someone else. Noreen cuts in before I can finish. "Stick to your spreadsheets," she says, lips curling. A cousin chuckles into his napkin. The sound echoes sharp as a fork scraping porcelain. I place my fork down gently, eyes fixed on the tablecloth pattern. Another cousin leans over to Noreen. "Your ad campaign is brilliant." She tilts her head, letting the praise soak in, then launches into details about billboards and color palettes. Dad nods, chest puffed. I watch their mouths move, but hear only the hum of the restaurant's air vent above me. I feel my nails pressing into my palm under the napkin. The smell of cinnamon and coffee from the bar mixes with the sweetness of pie, but it tastes bitter in the back of my throat. I let my gaze drift to the far end of the table, where a waiter polishes glasses, the sound of cloth on crystal steady and soft. Noreen's voice rises again. "I've got everything under control." Her words hang in the air. I reach into my purse fingertips, brushing the edge of the envelope. My thumb presses it like a secret pulse. Across from me, an uncle glances up as if sensing a shift, but says nothing. I push my chair back slightly, the scrape quiet but noticeable. Someone stops mid-sentence. I look down at my phone, a single notification lighting up the screen. "Arrived." My lips press together, a faint breath escaping. The room blurs for a heartbeat, then sharpens. They keep talking, but they don't see me anymore. Noreen keeps talking, her voice smooth and practiced hands painting the air as she describes her big summer sale. Dad beams at her like a proud sponsor. Mom nods along as if nothing else matters. I sit back, folding my hands in my lap, my face calm. Under the table, my foot taps once, a quiet drumbeat against the hardwood. The smell of coffee drifts over again, anchoring me. I've been here before, invisible at my own family's celebration, but tonight the air feels different, heavier, like a curtain about to drop. A cousin leans toward me, half smiling. "You okay?" he whispers. But before I answer, Mom interrupts with another story about Noreen's natural business talent. The cousin leans back, embarrassed. I let the moment pass, taking a slow sip of water. The envelope presses against my side like a heartbeat. My phone vibrates again, the same word, "arrived." I glance at the screen, then back at the table, my expression unreadable. Noreen laughs a little too loudly at her own joke. A few relatives join in, but their laughter feels brittle. I catch one aunt's eyes flicking to me, curiosity flickering before she looks away. The violinist by the door shifts to a lower tune, the notes soft and steady. I rest my hand on the napkin, fingers relaxed, breathing even. The noise around me fades to a hum like static before a broadcast. Inside, I feel the years of unspoken contributions stacking like ledgers, wiring money, fixing taxes, saving a store no one thanked me for. I don't say any of it out loud. I don't need to. My eyes lift to the far end of the room, where a man in a gray suit steps through the doorway, scanning the crowd. His gaze meets mine briefly, a subtle nod. No one else notices yet. I place my fork across my plate and straighten my back. The murmur at the table swells again as Noreen outlines her next brilliant plan. They're all looking at her. None of them see my hand slide to the envelope or the quiet breath I take before standing. In the reflection of a wine glass, I catch my own eyes, steady, waiting. They think the night belongs to her. They're about to learn it doesn't. The door at the far end of the restaurant swings open, letting in a burst of cold air and a man in a gray suit. He pauses just inside, scanning the room until his eyes find mine. I give the smallest nod. Around me, laughter and forks on china stumble into silence for a second before picking up again. Noreen is still speaking, her hands carving the air as she describes the next big thing for the store. Dad raises his glass. Mom leans in, proud smiles fixed in place. They don't see the man in the suit. They don't see me sliding the envelope out of my purse. He walks the length of the table, his shoes quiet on the polished wood, stopping at my side. "Christine," he says softly, his voice steady but carrying. "Mr. Henry asked me to deliver this to you in person." He places a slim folder on the table, the paper crisp against the linen. A cousin stops mid-bite. Someone sets down a fork with a clink. I don't open it right away. I look at my father instead. His smile flickers. I break the seal, take out a single page, and scan the first lines. Grandpa's handwriting, firm, no wasted words. I slide the paper toward my parents without reading it aloud. The lawyer clears his throat, the room leaning toward him like a tide. Effective immediately, he says, "Mr. Henry has updated his estate plan. Christine is now the sole beneficiary of his properties and assets. A portion will be given to the charity he's supported for years. Mr. Henry wishes you all well." The clatter of utensils stops. Noreen's mouth opens, but no sound comes. Mom's hand trembles slightly, wine rippling in her glass. Dad shifts in his chair, color draining from his face. I stay seated, my hands folded on the table, looking at them calmly. The lawyer lays a second copy of the document in front of them, the page sliding across like a line drawn in sand. Around the table, relatives glance at each other, murmurs, starting up low and quick, a current of surprise. I rise slowly, my chair scraping just enough to cut through the whispers. "I'm done," I say, my voice even not raised. I don't explain. I don't defend. The words hang there, simple and final. The lawyer steps back, letting the silence stretch. Noreen's smirk has vanished, replaced by a stunned stillness. My mother presses her lips together, eyes darting to Dad. No one moves. I pick up my bag, the envelope now empty, and step away from the table. I move toward the door without hurry, each step measured, my heels soft against the hardwood. Behind me, voices rise and fall like a broken chorus. A cousin whispers, "Did you know?" Another mutters, "She kept that store alive." The lawyer quietly gathers his briefcase, nodding once to me before leaving by another exit. Noreen's chair scrapes back, but she doesn't follow. Her hands are flat on the table, fingers splayed, eyes fixed on the documents as if staring could change them. Mom's mouth opens, closes, opens again, but no sound emerges. Dad stares at his wine shoulders hunched. I pause at the threshold for a heartbeat. In the reflection of the glass door, I see them all, the family who once looked right past me. Their faces are a mix of confusion, disbelief, and something darker, recognition. They are finally seeing me, not because I raised my voice, but because I stopped carrying theirs. I shift the strap of my bag higher on my shoulder, exhaling slowly. The room smells of roasted turkey and spilled wine, a feast gone sour. A waiter steps aside to let me pass. "Have a good night, ma'am," he says softly, as if sensing the weight of the moment. Outside, the cold, Chicago air hits my face, fresh and clean, after the heat inside. Streetlights blur in the mist, taxi headlights glinting like distant stars. I don't look back. My phone buzzes once, just a single message from Grandpa Henry, "Proud of you." I slide it into my coat pocket without opening the screen. For years I've left these dinners empty-handed, carrying their debts and silence. Tonight I leave the table, light, my hands free. I don't need applause or explanations. I have my own quiet proof. I step off the curb into the night, the sound of my heels fading into the hum of the city. They thought the night belonged to them. It never did. Weeks turned into months, and the noise around the family dinner faded like an echo. My phone stayed silent except for work calls and texts from Kathleen. From her I heard snippets: the store closed, the bank took the house. Noreen's grand pitch collapsed when investors saw the truth. No one sent me updates directly. The story reached me through cousins who used to scroll past Noreen's posts without question. Now they sent screenshots of old group chats, adding a single line, "We didn't know." I read them in my apartment's quiet, the city hum outside my window like a soft engine. I poured my energy into work. The tech startup I'd signed grew into my biggest client yet, and every spreadsheet, every late-night call felt like building something clean and mine. One Friday, my boss called me, in a rare smile on her face. "Christine's senior manager," she said, sliding an envelope across the desk. The raise wasn't just numbers, it was proof. Proof I didn't need my family's approval to succeed. I left the office that evening with the skyline glowing and a sense of air in my lungs I hadn't felt in years. Kathleen and I celebrated at our usual diner, splitting pancakes like always. She listened without judgment, her hand brushing mine across the table. "You did the right thing," she said simply. Outside the window, a bus hissed to a stop, people stepping off into the winter dusk. I nodded, taking in the scene, her words settling over me like a blanket. She didn't tell me to forgive or forget. She just let me be. That was enough. One evening, a postcard arrived from Grandpa Henry. A picture of a Florida pier at sunset, and 3 words scrawled across the back. "Proud of you." No lecture, no explanation. Just that. I pinned it to my fridge next to a grocery list, smiling at the quiet weight of it. I didn't need to call him back. He already knew. Spring crept in, and with it a calmer rhythm. My apartment, once a place of late-night stress, filled with light and the smell of fresh coffee. Brian's sketches and Kathleen's jokes lived here more than my family's echoes ever did. On weekends, Brian and I hiked small trails outside the city, our conversations drifting between bridge designs and my dreams of starting a consulting firm. He didn't offer empty advice when I opened up about the anniversary dinner or the years of being sidelined. He just listened, steady and sure. "You're stronger than they'll ever know," he said once, his voice low, but certain. The words landed deep, not as comfort, but as recognition. Cousins still sent updates now and then. Dad was picking up shifts at a warehouse, Mom selling crafts online, Noreen bouncing between retail jobs. I didn't gloat. I didn't call. They had years to treat me like family. They chose otherwise. Their silence now was just another choice, one I was done letting hurt me. At family gatherings, I wasn't invited to. My name barely came up except as a cautionary tale. I smiled when I heard that. It meant the power had shifted quietly without me needing to lift a finger. One night I stood on my balcony, city lights flickering below, and realized I no longer carried their weight. My career was thriving, my circle small, but real, my sense of self intact. I thought back to Dad's toast, Noreen's smirk, Mom's silence the moment they'd wished for a family without me. In a way, they got it, and I got a life without them, one built on dignity instead of approval. I turned back inside, closing the door gently behind me. The air felt still, almost new. They thought I'd stay silent. They were wrong. I closed the door softly, and the room stayed quiet, warm, with its own light. Outside, the city kept moving, but inside, I finally felt still. Sometimes walking away isn't defeat, it's how you protect your worth. And in that silence, your strength speaks louder than any words.